few moments, start to let yourself settle. Paying attention to your posture. Just trying to get a feeling of a comfortable posture. And a sense of your weight dropping down so that, as you said, you're not having to strain to hold up excess weight. It's beginning to lose some of the tightness in your back, shoulders. But not forcing anything, and not with any kind of set idea about this is how it should be. Rubbing your hands together and tapping over your face. And then over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder and your arm. Then on the other side. And the upper part. The belly. Sit back in your chair, reclining back, your feet out. Giving yourself a chance to experience this feeling of really allowing your weight to drop downwards and backwards through the chair. Feeling the difference that makes, different parts of your body, maybe finding that your chest and ribs kind of open out a little bit. Feeling that the muscles of your belly are less tight. Yeah, an impact on your breathing. That's just a few possibilities. There's many others. This is allowing gravity to work through your body, yielding to the pull of gravity, rather than feeling that you have to fight against it. And back to the upright stance. I'm trying to reproduce this feeling. So it's largely downwards now, just entirely downwards. Through your hips, through your feet, try and have a little bit of your weight forwards, so that the majority of your weight lands between your feet and your hips. It's again meaning less need for tightness and stiffness in the upper part of the body. Hips dropping into the chair. Your rib cage dropping into the space left behind by your hips. In its turn, that leaving space for your shoulders to drop down towards you. Once again, noticing the effect of all of this, particularly in the front of your upper body, trying not to pull your belly in or tightening your chest, but recognizing that those are very common, often deep-rooted habits. So, you know, even when it's not needed, we can still find ourselves holding tension, tightness in the upper part of the body. I mean, this is as the constant background to the movements that we make, just beginning to turn the head from side to side. Then bring your hands, the points in front of your shoulders. And just resting lightly on that front part of your shoulders, circling your elbows around, so feeling the movement, the shoulders, chest, upper back. Try to maintain a posture that reduces resistance to the movement, reduces that stiffness and tightness. Also recognizing the movement itself will help to soften those areas. Going forwards. Hands come down to your side, slightly out, so elbows a little bit curved, and rotating your arms. Arms forwards and around, as much around in the opposite direction as you can get without straining. Rotation still very much coming from shoulders, down through your elbows to your wrists. And then winding your arms around like you're winding up string or cotton thread. Again, much as possible, feeling the source of the movement in the shoulders, not just your wrists. Now, tilting forward in your pelvis, and now more of your weight going into your legs, compressing your legs until they expand, push you back up. See, I've just gone forwards a little bit to feel that a bit more strongly. If you do that, just be aware that it's stronger on your back as well as on your legs. Be careful with that. Using this movement to focus your attention on just the simple action of your weight moving from your hips, buttocks to your feet and back to you. This time, turn just a little bit in your hips so the weight goes more into one leg than another, making the distinction between what we call full and empty in the legs. The full one, the one with more of the weight. This is a very important dynamic within Tai Chi, the transfer of your weight and the movement between hips and feet, between your legs. And in the other direction. So this is helping us to really identify and to become familiar with one of the very important processes in Tai Chi, one of the processes that will actually be of benefit to us in our daily lives. And then turning again towards your left. Put your foot out, put the heel down, lower the toes, press in gently. And then pull back. And again, pressing in as though there's thin ice out there and you're just testing the ice. This time the heels go down the toes and then ease forward. So your weight again, pulling into that leg. Pull back. Ensure you step plant the foot before you commit your leg. It's used to a way of moving that is initiated from feet and your hips, movement of your weight. On the other side, first of all, what we call the empty step, stepping out, planting the foot, that gentle press in. And then followed by the weight. And alternating from side to side. So the intention is very simple. You're going to step with one foot and come back, step with the other foot, moving your weight in, come back. Just noticing how your body adjusts to allow you to do that. There'll be a slight shift of your weight across from one side to another to release the foot. A bit of a turn, probably. Driven by this intention to alternate the steps. Big back turn. Hands down by your sides again, weight back in your hips, turning your hands palm forwards, then rolling your weight forwards again and rotating your arms at the same time. So bird folds expressions. And just like curve out and then back in with your arms. So there's a ball on either side of your body. Just sliding your hands around the curve of the ball. Now, you can change. So from the forward position with the palms of your hands facing back, you sit back, let your arms follow your shoulders and swing through. And then lean forwards, and again, your arms follow, swing through. So fisherman casting. And then my arm swings out as I settle into my feet. It's lovely wave-like movement. Hips through my upper body and down into my feet, and then from my feet back through my upper body and down. Small. This time, positioning the ball underneath your arms. You're just rolling the ball in towards your chest or pulling the ball in. Feeling the expansion up to your belly, solar plexus, and into your chest. And then draining away. So another thing that we begin to notice is this pattern of expansion, followed by contraction, followed by an expansion, coming up from the ground. some point, just draining back down. This time, as your hands come up, turn them palm in, draw your elbows apart through that opening in the front of your body. Pigeon spreads its wings. As always, we can employ a variety of techniques to engage mind and body in the process. Some kind of image, memory of a sensation, some idea about how our bodies work structurally, flow, the energy of the movement. There isn't necessarily a set pattern that will go in time. You'll find that there are some general things, but sometimes we notice something and it doesn't necessarily arise again. One of the important things that we're training is that ability to remain in touch with others. One more time. And bring your hand straight back to the front of your head. Turn palm forwards, nice and forward just the arm. Pushing one. This time, when you come back, raise one heel, step out in the way that we did before, plant the foot, push forwards. Come back, bringing your foot in, planting it down, parallel. Another foot, raise that heel, push out, so alternating from side to side. So you were pushing against the wave, so you want to move. Okay, now this time, coming back, keeping your weight in the middle again, roll your fingers into a hollow fist. By hollow means you should be able to get a finger down there quite tight. Forwards at the movement, push your elbows out. Just rotate your wrist. So hands would be palm down here. And back. Once again, do not force in. So your arms sort of wind up, like a spring winding up. Then as your weight goes forwards, spring releases. And this rotation through the arms, this exercise, I think, makes that very clear. But there are often moments when you find this happening in both arms and legs. This side, bring your hand back, open them again, press them forwards, and then winding your arms out. And again, we see that rotation, that winding, spiraling movement as we come back, and then as we rotate the hands so they're palm forwards. One more time. Having the hands palm down. Turn a little bit to your left. Ease forward as your back extends. The arms mirror that extension. Turn to your right, come back, drawing your hand in. Change direction, turning to your right and forwards. Arms extending, back extending. Just polishing the top. Don't strain your back or your shoulders, not damaging your back. Think of your back and your spine in particular as being like a plant that gradually grows up from the ground. Your starting point again is going to be your hips, your feet, your center of gravity dropping into the ground. That's the root. One more on each side. Be careful not to overextend. Come back to the side. Rotate your hands so that they're palm up. Imagine them cradling a ball. Again, a gentle push down through your hips and through your feet causes this feeling of a movement upwards. So if I just do that without the arms, you watch my head carefully. See how it comes up. My back is just gently lengthening, contracting, similar to the way it did in previous exercise, although that was a horizontal movement. My rib cage expanding, lift my shoulders. Not attempting to do this, to lift my shoulders up. But I can imagine somebody gently leaning down on my shoulders to keep me down. Noticing as that happens, how my body compensates me. And then bringing arms around. One more time. And then turning your fingers out, going into the exercise toward this. That brings that feeling of an expansive energy a little bit higher up in. One more time. And as your hands come down, you go slightly forwards. That means that your arms can drop to their full length and still swing a little bit in front of your knees. Sit back into your hips, push up. Once again, just feeling the expansion through belly, solar plexus, and this time into your chest. Heart in the planks. So what we actually feel, particularly with this exercise, really with all of them, but I think this is a particularly good exercise to spotlight this, is the push from our feet and from our hips, creating a wave-like movement that expands into our belly, into our solar plexus, into the chest itself, and then drains away. Heart in the planks. And small. So your arms dropping down, feeling the weight of your arms, and the focus is on one side of your body. But again, expanding by the belly, expanding the solar plexus, expanding the chest. Dragon plucks the stars from the sky. Then change sides. And as you become more experienced in these movements, not just physically, but in terms of being able to maintain the focus of our attention more successfully. You might observe that the very act of noticing something, bringing it to the foreground of your attention, seems to amplify it. So this sensation of expansion would always have been there. If you reached up to put something on the shelf this morning, it would have been there, but perhaps hidden away beneath other thoughts, awarenesses, and so on and so forth. This is an interesting syndrome because it reminds me a little bit of those times in a crowded room where everybody's talking, but if you focus your attention on one particular conversation, it kind of comes out of the background. At that point, we can apply the other aspect of like awareness that we bring with us into these exercises, which is the intentionality. There's an intention to expand, to expand, to expand. So we begin to recognize how body and mind overlap with each other. And this time, let your hands come down to their full length. Bring your hands around again in this palms up position, but this time a little bit higher up. Again, just noticing how your arm rotates. And then all the way back down, letting your hands just rest, lightly touching the side of your hips or that central part of your body. And then pushing it. And again, spiraling back. Lengthening through your back and spine. And then lengthening, broadening across your back. One more round. Some as you push your arms out, Extend one foot, just let the heel rest on the floor. Knees should be slightly bent. Again, turning your hands, rotating your arms, scooping the seam, looking at the sky, coming back. As your hands reach this point, again, they rotate. And then rotate again to come back to the palm up position. Scooping the seam, looking at the sky. Put in. Same thing on the other side. And putting that foot in. Go back to the parallel start. Let hands to your side. An exercise we did a little earlier, just rotating your arms. And notice as you do this, and it's very subtle, but there's a sort of expansion across your chest. If I exaggerate this, it's almost like my sternum's coming forwards and then back. It's really, I'm not asking you to do it this way, by the way. It's a very subtle internal movements. Do this with your hands loosely fisted in there. So the palms will be forwards without the fist. Going forwards to here. So variation on the earlier exercises that we did. Third its range. Once again, extend one foot. It means up we can go a little bit further forwards, but try not to collapse downwards. Try and imagine, keep going, but try and imagine from here that there's this angled trajectory upwards. So there's that wave-like energy that I mentioned earlier coming up through the belly, solar plexus, and chest, actually is directed upwards rather than forwards or downwards. A bit like if you were watering your garden and you wanted to get the water a bit further, one of the things you might do is you might aim the jet of water upwards so it curves over. And that provides this angling trajectory that gives the energy to just push your arms up a little bit, gradually rising. Again, you could imagine somebody with their hands just resting on your shoulders and no higher than the point adjacent to your ears. This is called grasping tightness. Small. Feet parallel. Just reminding yourself how we started. Extending one foot. Giving that little bit of extra because your weight, because your foot's gone forwards. Not your weight isn't really going forwards, but it means that as you go forwards, your head is still above your leg. If the foot wasn't there and I did this, I'd risk falling out of the chair. So when we extend our foot, when we extend our leg, we just naturally extend the range of our movement. And then aware of that upward push, the arms, they're being pushed up by that wave coming from underneath them until they may reach the level we do. If they don't reach that high, that's fine. Don't strain for that. Last many times, isn't it? One more time. Then come back. Resting. And everything settle. And then so again, moving your weight forwards and backwards. This time, as you go forwards, turning to your left leg. And when you come back more into your right hip. Then you turn to your left. Move your weight more to your left hip and forwards to your right. These weight changes are very subtle. And again, they're going to drive in the movement. Come back, holding the ball, right hand on top, left hand on the wrist. Part in the wild horse's rein, you go forwards and turn, using the arm out, come back, hold the top of the ball with the left hand. And same thing on the right. This time as you come into your right hip, and once again, extend and plant the left foot, going forwards. Again, you can give a little bit more movement there, coming back. And then you put in, balancing it down. Step out. Out. Take your time. Take the point here, you're dropping into your right foot, extending the left foot, planting it down, moving the weight forwards. That rotation, that spiraling movement, the back and spine. Do one more on each side. Okay. Once again, rubbing your hands together and then tapping over your face. Over your head and neck. Down one shoulder, your arm. The other side. And the upper part of the chest. Down to your belly. Pushing your heels up. Just a bit of feeling back into the muscles of your legs. And circling around. Back the other way. Okay, and then standing. Your standing posture Have your feet directly below your hips. They're not too close together. Toes pointing forward, or maybe just a little bit turned out, but not too far. If possible, want your weight a little bit forwards, but unlike in the chair-based exercises, we don't want that angling of the body, just letting your hips drop back. With that settling back, a sense of downward movement, the rooting down. Your hips drop back a little bit more, so you go down further. Just be very careful of your knees and not the body expanding. And expanding. Bring your hands around, and this earlier in the chair, reaching down, really letting your center of gravity drop, stability, and then turn your hands out, sharp wild goose. Yeah, your center of gravity dropping. And when we push up, don't lift your center of gravity, but like a plant or a tree, growing out of it, extending upwards again for parting the plants. Back to the beginning. And so again, we begin to feel that progression of the movement, of the expanding movement, wave-like movement from the ground, and we can feel that very strongly. We're standing into the belly, into the solar plexus, and very much so with parting the clouds. Feel up into the chest, the arms themselves, dropping down again. Working from the root. As I said, this sinking of your center of gravity gives you the stability. It also allows your upper body to release tightness a little bit because there's simply less weight being carried. One more round of this. Now, keeping the width here, so turn your left foot out, step forward with your right foot. Notice you can still see the background between my legs. So keeping the width of the step about the same or slightly longer in length. Now, just transferring your weight, trying to maintain this upright stance in your upper body, so shoulders staying in line with your hips. Try not to lean forwards. And letting your weight drop down into each leg. So this exercise teaches you to move with that feeling of being rooted. So we use the term root, and we draw an analogy with plants, with trees, flowers, and so on and so forth. Deeply rooted is the foundation for the movement. Unlike trees and flowers, we move around, we don't stay in one place. So we need to be able to work out whether we can maintain that root as we move, which is possible, by the way, very much so. But chances are we lose it a little bit. We can keep it, but perhaps not every time. So just taking the opportunity as our weight lands in one leg to re-establish that root, to let the hips sink again. And when you go into your back foot, simply raise the front toes and more of your weight settles back into the rear foot. Foot is now turned out a little bit. You go forwards, push the back knee forward so the heel comes up. Gradually, more of your weight settling into the leg and coming into line over your supporting leg. The combination of these two things will help your stability. So taking that moment to settle in is really handy. Because now what we can do, say when we come forwards, is we can bring the back foot in and then push it back out, put the ball of the foot down, lower the heel, press the foot in as we did earlier. Come back. When you step forwards, the heel goes down, then the ball. So planting the foot. You place the foot and then gently press in the way that you would do if you were just planted something in a pot, gently pressing the earth down. Good. Try the same thing on the other side. So again, right foot turned out, taking the step forwards, making sure the stance. You can do this in a narrow stance, but you just automatically feel as though you're walking a tightrope or something like that. We use a variety of stances in Tai Chi, but this is the one where we establish the principle of being able to move with that sense of rooting down. This is really important for our general mobility. Raising toes and then heel. And then stepping in, planting the foot, remember. So take your time. This is not a race. We're not going for speed or power here, so we don't need to angle the body. This time, bring the foot in, step sideways. Again, the foot is slightly turned out. Step forwards with the right foot. Bring the foot in, step back. So alternating from side to side. Taking your time. It's quite a tricky little movement. When we find that you lose your stability, try not to tense up around your hips, your belly, the lower back, so that your pelvis is able to make very, very subtle adjustments. And this is a useful exercise to really encourage that. Again, very important for our general stability. And then take some steps forwards, forwards or backwards, depends where the room is. And then going back. And shake hand. So it's a really useful exercise for general mobility. We often lose some of those very fine motor functions that mean that things like the pelvis can make adjustments. One way to practice these is to say, for instance, if I have my hand on the wall, I can do this. I've got a little bit of support here. So this helps me to not tense up. And that's important. I can do the different patterns. I can go backwards and forwards and so on and so forth. And just sort of, again, bringing a sense of attention and a sense of intention to these very fine movements and the adjustment of the posture that I need to make to encourage those. And if you can do so safely, if you've got somewhere, say in your garden where you've got a wall or something to support and it's a bit uneven, it's quite interesting to do this on uneven ground as well. Obviously, don't take silly chances. You know, so if there's a little bump or something like that, it might take you a few moments to work out what adjustment you want to make. Now we're going to bring the arms back into the movement. Have your right foot forwards. Move your weight into your back foot, turn, and just feeling that expansion again through belly, solar plexus, and chest. And then going forwards, let your arms drop down and turn the opposite way. It's called Wind Blows the Willows. So the arms start to expand as you settle down in the leg. And as you move, they just drop down, swing through. Then strain. Remember, we're looking to be able to move our arms upwards without lifting the shoulders. Sometimes it's better to think not the arms going up, but even going out. They'll just naturally swing in. And then the other foot forward, try same thing again. On your back foot, you turn to your left. Front foot, you turn to the right. I do it this way around. You can do it either way around, but I do it this way around because it leads us in to the next movement. So I'll come to shortly. Going to combine this with the step in. So again, you can go forwards or backwards. I'm going to go forwards. So as I turn, I'll push my back knee in. I'll bring the foot in. Just rest in there for a moment. And then step through. This is called dragonfly skims the water. My arms drop down. I turn, push my back knee in, and let the arms swing out. Step through. And you may find not only can you do this comfortably, but you may find that you can just raise the leg. Again, this might be an exercise to practice, just supported by a wall or your hand on a table or something like that, so that you've got time just to investigate and to work with this raising of the foot without straining. I'm going to go back now, so move my weight back. As I turn, I raise the front toes, bring the foot in, plant the foot back. Again. And then maybe raising the foot. One more time. And okay, go back to your chair. Let me just talk about that a little bit. Try and think in terms of when you do exercises like step in and dragonfly skims the water. Try not to think of balancing, but rather remaining stable. And we remain stable to being aware of our posture and how gravity is working through the body. And we're going right back to the start of the session when we were in the reclining position, with center of gravity dropping down, rooting down. And when we can maintain that, we're just going to be more stable. But in order to do that, we have to release tightness. We have to be able to relax. And this is where I think having some support, because if you are feeling a bit wobbly, we will do sometimes, the last thing you feel like doing is relaxing at this point. But if you've got hold of something, you can begin to experiment a little bit. There's a bit of trial and error here. What happens if you can just release the tightness in your hips and your back? Can you feel more stable? How does that change when you raise your leg? Do you suddenly find yourself tensing up? Can you find a way to move the leg inwards and outwards, upwards and downwards without straining? And so there's this process of, I suppose you call it curiosity, couldn't you? Interest. What happens if I do this? And it comes out of that awareness that we generate, and the increasing responsiveness of our body to intention. All of these movements are intentional movements, and so our bodies respond to our intentions anyway, in one way or another. But as our awareness grows, so does the accuracy and the usefulness of that intentionality. So this is an ongoing process in touch. So letting your hands drop down. The intention here is to let your hips sink into the chair and then to feel the expansion, pushing your arms out. You swing up, coming around, hold the ball, drawing in, and then everything just draining away. Grace Tiger returns now. You may find as your arms push out that you get to a point where you're getting a bit stiff, maybe in your back or your shoulders. And then we recognize that and we come back. The moment when we're very settled here, and then we start. Grace Tiger, return to mountain. And this feeling of draining away from that final stage is the feeling that we were looking for when we were doing the step in and things like dragonfly skims the water. It's just obviously it's going to be much trickier when you're standing, especially if you're trying to stand on one leg. But we get used to that feeling within the body. And that becomes an intention. This is how we want to feel when we're walking down the shops and we feel a bit unsteady. We want to drop down rather than to stiffen up. So again, this is an important exercise. One more time. And familiar with this feeling of sitting, being upright, whether it's sitting or standing, without the straining, without the tightness in the upper part of our body, because we've got a posture that allows our weight to settle. And then just open the eyes. Lovely, thank you very much. So, as always, do feel free to contact me with any comments or questions. But in the meantime, say goodbye. Enjoy the rest of your day.